And gentlemen, that takes us now into our final summary of what we've been through, what we've experienced over the last week. And I don't know about you, but I think I can probably speak for Rose and myself. Our brains are certainly filled with fabulous ideas, be they good or not so good. Lots of ideas in terms of actually how do we truly make a difference with regards to ensuring that our raw materials that we need, be they rocks that look like this, how do we make sure that we can find these, extract these, process them, buy them and sell them, so that they end up in bits of kit like this, which are of course incredibly useful for all of us around the world. How do we do this in the most responsible manner possible? Now, you will have seen in the background, depending on whether you've been watching on YouTube or in Zoom, Rose and myself beavering away in the background. Also, of course, we've been helped with by the likes of the wonderful Aaron, who's been writing a blog for this morning's session. All of these blogs have been pushed out on LinkedIn, so please do feel free to tap in with them, engage with them, discuss some of the perspectives that are being shared there. But also in the background, Rose and I have been attempting to pull together some of the thoughts that have come through over the course of this last week. And if I now just attempt to share my screen to see if I've learned something with regards to how Zoom works over the last week. You can see here, this is the slide obviously that I showed at the beginning of today's session. So our mine perspectives, or mine our perspectives, this leveraging off Mark Rakovides' talk yesterday that he gave, where he said, it's not mine, it's our. So how do we begin to change that scope of thought with regards to mining as a whole? And of course, we then launched our little challenge overnight with regards to asking you to just take a scrap piece of paper and to write down what do you think, or draw a picture as to what comes to mind when you think of a mine, what actually comes to mind, and to invite your partners, your children, etc., your grandparents to join in with this challenge. And yes, you have responded, which has been truly brilliant. So what we have here are just some of those pictures that have been shared with us. And you can almost begin to try and work out, okay, so who is this person who has drawn this picture? So I know where most of these have come from, because I do know many of you who sent these in. And so, for example, this picture up in the top row here, this comes from an engineer. Okay, and you can probably tell that because this engineer has decided to draw a flow chart, which is just glorious. This picture over here, this is from a geologist, because as geologists, we generally think in 3D, or if not 4D. So you can begin to see some of these traits begin to come through. This picture down here, and Rose has very kindly censored some of what is written in that speech bubble. Now, apologies if you can't quite see this, but this comes from somebody in the UK who is talking about Margaret Thatcher and doesn't necessarily like Margaret Thatcher. So this is something here where you've got people who have been impacted by mining in the past, and so therefore have very, very strong opinions with regards to this as a whole. There are a variety of other drawings that come in here, and it's really funny to see. Well, I say, no, not necessarily funny. I think it's insightful to see different people's perspectives. And it wasn't just these pictures that we got. Oh, we've got a whole host of others that have come in here as well. So you can see people doing beautiful, beautiful sketches with regards to what is going on. Some really intricate underground mines coming through here. And then this picture on the back of an envelope, trying to bring in the complexity of, say, the local community, artisanal miners, what's going on with the full value chain of that mine itself, all being driven by, I think this says, person with a smartphone. So somebody actually using one of these products that comes out the far end of the value chain. We also have some little comic strips that have been sent in to us as well. So take it how you will. Yes, this is supposed to be humorous. So try and see the funny side with regards to this as well. We'll post these slides on the website, by the way. Also, with regards to perspectives, and just building on some of what Jamie said in his closing comments there. As you know, during the week, we did do a little word cloud. So this was sparked by the immense debate that was being had around the word stakeholder. Who would have thought that the word stakeholder would have sparked such a debate? And so what we did was we did a very quick ad hoc word cloud using Mentimeter, which I'm sure many of you have come across online. And of course, there it was, depending on where people come from, there are different words, there are different terms that are used here, because sometimes stakeholder can be quite offensive in different circumstances. So you can see all of that coming through. And in parallel with that particular discussion, you can see over here in the top right-hand corner, this is a picture of one of my monitors during the week of what was going on YouTube. And actually this is from Tuesday afternoon, where we had some really good engagement from a group in Portugal with regards to mining and perhaps some of their experience with regards to the stakeholder engagement around them. And I think this was summed up nicely by Monica's talk, where she was talking about, can we trust you? And so depending on who is us and who is you with regards to this. So some brilliant different perspectives all coming together. And before we get into the summary, which we're going to do through a series of suggested next steps, Rose and I can't forget to say a massive, massive thank you to everybody who has helped us over the course of the last 3 weeks. So yes, it was only 3 weeks ago that Rose and I sat down virtually, of course, over Zoom, and we said, actually, yeah, let's do this conference. Let's see if we can't make it happen. And so to Rose, a massive thank you to you, Rose, for all of the hard work that you've put in. You've been absolutely phenomenal. But also a big thank you to all of these fantastic people that you see listed on the screen. Obviously, we have all of our wonderful speakers who have helped us over the last few days. So just to summarize that, we've had 65 different talks given by 71 different presenters over 8 sessions held over 5 days. And it was only organised in 2 weeks. I think we've had approximately 500 people sign up in different ways, and hundreds of other people who have watched the YouTube stream either live or following up online afterwards. We've had over 3,000 visits to the website, which again was only launched a couple of weeks ago, almost 2,000 of which are unique. And we've had 2,625 views of the different abstracts, and that was as of this morning before we went into today. I have no idea what Twitter looks like or LinkedIn looks like, but thank you so, so much for all of your engagement, because it's through this engagement and the sharing of perspectives that we're actually going to be able to make a difference and ensure that we do all of this in a responsible manner. So to the final slide that I have here, and this is the what next. And thank you to those of you who have been messaging us in the background and saying, it's always great to take part in these sorts of conferences, but you often walk away with a feeling of excitement, but then, okay, but so what? What now? And so what we've tried to encapsulate here are some of the ideas that either you have suggested, but also some of the other things that have been going on in the background. And you'll see, I'm not sure why we put this at the top of the list, Rose, but we did ask everybody if another conference was a good idea. We will, of course, send out a survey and request your feedback on this, but there's nothing stopping us from running another conference like this. We've never run one quite like this before, but I think what we've seen is that it does work. And it's a really good platform through which we can pull together people who might not usually interact with one another, and so therefore different perspectives that we might see. So yeah, if you think that another conference would be a good idea, let us know, and Rose and I and the team will put on our thinking caps and try to make sure that that happens. But we are, of course, very, very keen to integrate and work with lots of other groups who are obviously doing very similar things. So this is a case where we all need to be working together. It's been suggested by the likes of Joel earlier on in the week, suggested that we might want to look at some focus sessions, say, for example, in Africa or Latin America. There's also nothing stopping us from doing this in different languages. So we can run conferences in French or Spanish or Portuguese, etc. So we can, of course, do that. Also, and you'll see here is something that came through this morning, from the wonderful Darren. You may have heard that Darren mentioned that he used to be the chair of the special interest group for the Institute of Risk Management with regards to infrastructure. And something that has been agreed behind the scenes is that we will give a talk to that particular group, so to a very different group of stakeholders, but absolutely key with regards to ensuring that we use our materials responsibly. So we will give an interactive talk to that group at some point in time in the next little while. So thank you very much for that, Darren, and that very quick organisation between everybody. It was also suggested, and this came through yesterday afternoon, perhaps some larger scale public engagement. So this is, for example, people have been talking to the BBC, etc. What can we actually do there? And so that comes through with the likes of Nick and also Richard Harrington, etc. Some of the discussions that you guys have been having. So any support or any interaction there, absolutely fantastic. Publications. So yes, the Geological Society of London has been in touch and said, hey, do we want to put together a special publication trying to pull together some of the thoughts, for example, and aspects that we've seen this week? My feeling on this is that, yes, perhaps we have a start, but there are still lots of gaps in terms of what we've pulled together over the last week, but that's certainly a potential. Many of you will have already seen the learning materials that have been collated on the website, through to putting together some university style questions, etc., and ways in which people can make use of all of these phenomenal videos which have been created over the last week. So all of that is coming, and it will be finished over the next week or so. So watch this space. I know that that page will be updated nicely. We've also got a number of different initiatives. So you will have seen that there's been a bit of a running theme with regards to the resource reserve reporting. So all of us geeky geologists on the call were very excited with this. And thank you very much, Ed, for actually your summary in a way of some of those key aspects earlier on today. Those of us who are deeply involved in this space will know that there is a huge amount of effort going into updating perhaps the environment, social governance aspects of the resource reserve reporting that's going on now. So hopefully some of the videos that we've recorded this week can provide some background context setting for people who are coming into that space or who are interested in it. Also as well, you heard Estelle talk about the artisanal small scale mining through to the large scale mining community of practice. So again, there is a lot of fantastic initiatives that are being put together there. And if you're interested in that, I do encourage you to get in contact with the likes of the wonderful Estelle. Also on the research front, earlier on in the week, Neil Cantle, so he was our actuary who came and shared some of his insights with regards to how do you take some of that network and causal based modelling and try to use that to model what's going on in the responsibility space. And that's a case there where some of the research work that we've kicked off already over the course of this week is looking into that in a lot more detail. So I refer you back to Neil's talk on Wednesday morning. And of course, the final bit of information here is that our mine perspectives piece with regards to all of those lovely drawings. And all of this will be fed back to Anthea. So this was her research idea. We'll leave these on the website because I do believe that these pictures give a fabulous insight as to how people perceive mining and what they feel is important to them. And you'll see at the bottom there is an and ... question mark. This is something here where Rose and myself, we would love to hear all of your fantastic ideas with regards to how can we actually really make use of everything that we've collated over the last week. It will stay on the website unless, of course, our lovely presenters want to be edited in a special way. Don't worry, we're on your side with regards to this. So this is designed to be an online resource that can be used for the future and also added to as well. Because as Jamie alluded to, there are lots of perspectives that we're still missing from this wide array that we've collated this week. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to stop sharing my screen so that you can go back to the gallery view so you can see all of the lovely panelists that are still online. And just in closing comments, what I'd like to do is just to go around our panel. So if you'd like to take part in this, please switch your videos back on, ladies and gentlemen, and just ask for your closing comments. Now, these can just be takeaway things that surprised you during the course of today, or if you have any ideas as to how we can take all of this momentum that we've got forward, how can we make best use of that? So I'm going to gently work forwards. I'm going to start off with Darren. So I'm giving you a heads up here, Darren. I realise that you're perhaps the newest person to this space. but you have been sitting here gently on your weekend, because of course you're in Riyadh. I just wondered if you had any words in closing, and after you, Darren, we're going to go to Ed. Thanks, Darren.
No, just to reiterate, and I'm sure others will say this, so thanks again to all those who organised it and the presenters. We often underestimate how much time it takes to produce the slides. But a big thank you. I've learned so much today, and in fact, actually, I will probably go back and look at some of the other videos the last several days as well. But no, big thank you, and that's it. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Brilliant. Thank you very, very much, Darren. Ed, any final words of wisdom for yourself? And then we're going to go to Francis.
I don't know. It's very difficult to sum everything up. One feels one's just a small cog in the whole thing. But I suppose one thing I was just thinking of is that with that talk on the Tailings Initiative and working with the reporting codes, is that it's often one bad apple that has triggered these things. That Briex had a lot of problems, the Brumadinho tailings disaster had. So I suppose, you know, whilst we don't particularly want bad apples, we should realize it's the negative things tend to have more impact. And, you know, why isn't the public more aware that there are lots of good mines? And, you know, particularly I think of where I come from, Ireland, Navan in Ireland, and the Neves Corvo mine in Portugal, which I've also worked on. They are very important for their local communities and have been successfully operating for 30 or 40 years without any, you know, major disasters or anything. And the local communities would be aware of that, but at national level, people don't know those, and, you know, the good side, if you like, of mining tends to be hidden from the public perceptions. How do we tackle that?
Brilliant. No, thank you very, very much for that, Ed. Incredibly important. Francis, across to yourself, and then we'll go to Aldo. Oh, we can't hear you, Francis, for some reason, but you're not muted. I tell you what, let's go to Aldo, and then we'll try and get Francis working. Aldo, across to yourself, and we'll come back to you, Francis.
Well, a big thank you, Sarah and Rose and the rest of the team for a marvellous conference. It's not often that communicators get to participate in these things. We're kind of on the sidelines of the technical conversations, but I think you've managed to balance the technical with the bigger picture stuff really well, and happy to have contributed going forward. How do we go about continuing those conversations and leveraging this group to better sort of communicate the good that mining does and the challenges it faces?
Great, thank you very much for that, Aldo. Francis, shall we try you again?
I try. I've changed my microphone. Not so good. Right. Okay, well, thanks ever so much. I love the format's been good. I've been emailing people while other people have been talking and saying, go and catch it. And they say, oh, I've missed it. I'll read the abstract. And I say, no, just wind back on YouTube and go and have a look. So really, that's a lesson for the future, is the flexibility of the format's great. Surprise for me was listening to Jamie's talk just now, and about how he wants yet another code for the junior mining companies. And I thought that everybody just followed the IFC guidelines, and so I'm going to find out more about what he's, you know, what the important points are there. So that was a big learning point. Lots to learn in all the talks, of course, and all those nice cartoons of what a mine looks like. What I wanted to do was just rush out and go and take a picture, because I can't draw at all, of my back garden. And, you know, mines that actually either you don't know they're there, or you like them so much that you'd really actually welcome one in your area, or you wouldn't notice it's there. I mean, I think we're actually going towards the techno solution for that. There are techniques coming and different sorts of deposits we can mine, and you never know, that will be a great solution. So there's lots more technical stuff to come in, as well as all the other exciting conversations that we're having around.
Fantastic. Thank you very, very much for that, Francis. And feel free to nip out now, take that picture and send it through. We'd love to see your garden. Jamie, should we come to yourself, seeing as Francis used your name in vain, and then we'll go to Marco.
Thank you. And Francis, in direct answer to you, I think you've made actually a really good point. No new initiatives, please. I think there are enough new initiatives out there, but I think the important thing here is to take the initiatives which are out there and right-size them for the different levels of the industry. And I think that's the important thing. And this is not a marketing point. but follow Digby and you'll know where I'm going with this. So, but I think no new initiatives, please. I think there's so much good work's been done. There's enough content out there, which no doubt will be further improved. I would just finish, Sarah, just by seconding Ed's comments just now, that bad apples lead to negative perception. So much positive is going on in this industry. Let's be honest, with so much going on in terms of windmills, solar, electric vehicles and all the rest of it, we do produce the solutions to the world's problems, notwithstanding the fact that there are some negatives that go along with that, which need to be balanced and need to be improved. And what I would say is your conference, which has brought so much content, so much talent together, I think if we've been able to do that, react and adapt and improve so quickly by bringing a virtual conference together, then I think that in itself is a reason why this industry has so much to look forward to from arguably a low base from perception, but we can turn that to account and make a better world that goes with that.
Brilliant. Thank you very, very much, Jamie. Marco, across to yourself, and then we're going to go to Gareth.
Well, thanks again for letting wrap up from each of us. What I would like to emphasize is that I had a really great time this week, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I've seen so much more enthusiasm about this virtual conference that I actually get to at many live conferences. And so this is something that's really surprising, and keep on the good work. I mean, really, really nice work. And I've seen you've been multitasking. You've been talking to us, writing us emails, writing us texts, recording everything. It's just great. I would suggest one additional thing, as some of us are working in the private sector, and we do have the professional titles that we have to maintain, and we do collect points for the continuous professional development. It would be nice to have some sort of certificate of participating to such conferences, because that's something that we have to prove. And since I haven't drawn a mine, but my son did, he wants to say hello, okay? Come on.
Hey.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you for your picture. It's great.
Well, thanks, huh? I'll keep following you. Take good work ahead in the future.
Brilliant. Thank you
Yes.
very much, Marco. It's fantastic. Gareth, beat that one. Over to you, and then we'll go to Estelle.
Won't cry. Yeah, firstly, thank you very much. It's been a great conference you pulled together, and it's a really great cross-section example of the cross-section, showing the complexities and intricacies of everything that's involved in sort of responsible ESG factors that are related to mining, from artisanal mining to the ends of the supply chain, the communications, comms component. Even just today, we have that cross-section. So that's really great to see, because it shows, that puts us all in the context that we're working in. And so from my point of view, from a sort of closing remark, is that the more information, the more data that we have is a good thing. It increases transparency, and that allows us all to up our game and raise the bar. And that's it.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Gareth. It's fantastic. And across to the lovely Estelle, and then we're going to go to Aaron.
I like this lovely business. Keep it up, Sarah. Thank you. It's just been so interesting. As a geographer, I love looking at things from multiple angles, and so to have all of these different points of view on mining has just been so educational. I'm going to go and find a MOOC on life cycle analysis, because I've been meaning to do it for ages, but Francis just really hit it home that it's time I did that. And I think that what you've gathered here is useful also, particularly for university students or younger people who need to figure out what could a career in mining be like. Because coming from every single discipline, there's ways to work in mining and contribute to sustainable minerals futures for us. So I really think universities should be capturing this and using it as part of their career development planning with students. I'd love to do a joint conference with you on ASM. I also would love to see, and I'm sorry for the people here that aren't British, and forgive me because you're sick of people talking about Britain, I'm sure. But because Britain has changed its place in the world, and because of the distraction that has been for many years and will continue to be in the future, Britain's role in minerals from a government point of view has been weakened lately. And as an organisation that works in many countries around the world, we don't really see a lot of British government presence as much as it used to be as a constructive partner to developing countries or to other market nations in helping make minerals more sustainable. So I love your idea of going broader for public attention on this. And I would love a conference like this on what is Britain's place in building sustainable mineral futures, to bring together those of us who are based in Britain or with interests in Britain, to attract the government into a conversation about this, to help them with their thinking as well. Forgive me getting all British centric, don't usually do that, but I see the opportunity.
No, I think that's brilliant ideas. Thank you very, very much, Estelle. Let's make it happen. So if anybody has any ideas to that or any contacts, etc., or is anybody already doing it, please let us know because we'd love to get involved. Fantastic. Thanks, Estelle. Aaron, across to yourself, and then we will come to the lovely Ludovine.
Thanks, Sarah. I just wanted to say that I've been able to attend this conference in sort of two roles. So I'm a PhD student working in sort of exploration geology for lead zinc deposits. So I got to attend in this capacity, and it's been really interesting, especially today with the things Francis was saying, is what geologists can learn about incorporating sort of this life cycle assessment into the geologic evaluation of a deposit. And I think this is really important. It's not something we learn a lot about when studying geochemistry of skarn deposit or porphyry mineralization. Like, this isn't things that we necessarily learn, but I think it's critical to understanding mining systems in sort of the bigger picture. The second way that I've been able to attend this conference was as one of the Ore Deposits Hub hosts. And so we're an organization that's distributing weekly seminars from top-end geoscientists and mining professionals on sort of a Zoom framework like this, except maybe not as diverse and with longer talk segments. But what's really cool to me about this conference that Rose and Sarah put together is sort of the diversity and the range of experience and knowledge that's present here on the same room every day, all week. And it's been quite amazing and really inspiring for me because it's sort of like, in my opinion, it's like the most important thing that we can do is get the experts to talk to other experts, to talk to public actors, and really, as Francis said, for me, it helps get me out of my geo comfort zone, and I really appreciated that little tidbit. So thank you, everybody, and thank you, Rose and Sarah, for organizing this.
Perfect. An absolute pleasure, Aaron, to get you out of that rock space. Absolute pleasure. Thanks, mate. Ludovine, your final words of glorious wisdom, and then we will go to the fantastic Rose.
Great. Thank you very much for this conference and this excellent panel this morning. So I've done a little bit of political activism in my youth, and one of the phrases that we hear often is you can pretend to care, but you can't pretend to show up. And I just wanted to commend you and Rose and every single one of the panelists, because they showed up and you showed up. And I think when you were saying, okay, what's next? Every single one of us has to, I think, follow your excellent example of leadership. You cared and you showed up, and the result is all of this information and all of these exchanges. So bravo to you, and well done, because this is, I think, the first next step.
Merci beaucoup, Ludovine. Thank you very, very much. Brilliant. And for the last words, Rose.
Thank you. So I think I've learned two things mainly through this. And I think the first one is what everyone said. it needs so many people to come to the conversation. And when me and you were pulling this together and I saw the list of people, it was like, wow, we've really got everybody. And actually, as we've gone through this week, we've spoken, it's like we keep coming up with more ideas of more people that we need to pull in. And it really shows how complex it is to get people there and to understand something fully. So we've sat and said, you know, we need to talk to the psychologists and the social scientists, as well as, you know, all the people that we've got. And I think that's really, I think as geologists, we could be quite ignorant in that and just focus on the technical. And I think that's been a big lesson. But also, actually, what can happen when you just go, sod it, I'm going to do it. Like, this has taken 3 weeks, and it was just, shall we just try and do this? And it's been amazing. The feedback that we've got has been amazing. And I think it shows that if you actually want to do something, you can, and it can be far better than you imagine. So on that, thank you everybody, as Sarah said, for turning up. But on behalf of everybody, thank you, Sarah, because I know how tiring this has been behind the scenes, how you have kept up the energy and done everything so fantastically the whole way through, whilst also doing the behind the scenes bit with me, is amazing. And you are a great role model for everybody in this. So thank you.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Rose. I shall attempt to take that in good grace, but as you know, British people are terrible at receiving compliments, so thank you very much. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for all of your input, your attention, your ideas, your challenge over the course of this last week. Long may it continue, and watch this space for what comes next. Brilliant. Thanks very much, everybody. Have a lovely, lovely weekend. Round of applause, everyone. And we